Got a new fuel additive that I'm working with and testing out, and this is going to be the introduction segment of the video. So, hotshots, diesel Xtreme. What this one is it's a one tank cleanup. It really hits things hard. Does your cetane, got detergent in it, cleans your fuel system. You put about half this bottle in one of these trucks. And so I did that for both of my trucks, and we'll be testing for MPG, as well as on the 6.7 we'll be testing if it changes how many miles I can go in between Regens. Then, after we run one tank of the strong stuff, we'll come over and use this stuff. And as you can see, I'm already running it. I've used up that whole bottle, and I'm on my way to finishing this bottle. So this is your hotshots EDT, everyday treatment. This one is meant to be run every tank. This is meant to be run like a couple times a year. So for this one, cleans your injectors, improves lubricity, helps prevent rust, removes water, stabilizes the fuel. This one doesn't have any anti-gel, but they do make one that does. And here's your dosage. So you got 1 ounce to 25 gallons, or for performance, 2 ounces to 25 gallons. What I'm doing is 2 ounces to 35 gallons, which is somewhere in between those two. So this comes in the nice bottle that lets you fill that up. I'll show that later. And it'll be interesting to see what this does. I've had to try this because a lot of people are reporting good results with it. And actually, so far in my tests, I think the results are fairly good. So I'll get back with you when I'm done with the tests. So each truck will have 1 tank of the Xtreme. And each truck will have probably like 3 tanks with this, maybe 4. But we'll see. All right, y'all. I'll get back with you then. I think this is a pretty good price on diesel. Best I've seen in a little while. Truck stop style. No credit cards out here. Gotta go inside. No fuel cards either. So I got the EDT. It's going to be the first with EDT. We'll see how that goes. Alright, we are well into our tests so far. We're in the thick of our tests. Once this truck finishes its regen that it's in right now, we've got the 6.7. Going to fill it up, and we'll be using EDT in this one. So this tank that I've got right now has the hotshots Xtreme. So far, overall impressions are pretty positive on this additive, but we'll see how things develop as we continue with our tests. Alright, here's our EDT. Now to show y'all how I'm doing this, I'm doing 2 ounce treatments. Got 1 ounce in the top there. So we want to bring it down here, pour it in. Now I'm going to squeeze it, move it back up to 1 ounce, and pour again. That's it. You can do it before or after you fill. Fuel gets mixed up, you know, either way. You get so much fuel going through the injectors, fuel return, that it just gets mixed up almost right away anyways. Alright, we're at the part of the video where I share my data that I compiled. Sorry if I sound a little funny. I'm under the weather right now. Very common for me around New Year's to get sick, and lo and behold, I have. But let's take a look. And I think I explained how I was doing the tests. We're going to do 1 Xtreme and 3 EDTs on both trucks. So here's what we have before. The before scenario was these 4 tanks
is what we did on the 03. It gave us 18.9 miles a gallon average, so that was the number to beat. And on the 09, we did a 16.59 mile a gallon average. My assessment of that is this number is a little on the lower side for what I should get with 33-inch tires on the highway. So I thought that number would be relatively easy to beat. Meanwhile, this number was pretty good for what the 09 does. And so I thought that would be hard to beat. And then we ended up with quite the opposite scenario. So here's what happened. Over on the 03, we started off with the Hotshots Xtreme, and things were looking really good. We got 19.23, that's definite gain there. And then followed it right up with the EDT tank, got 19.2 again. So I was pretty happy with how things were going at first. And then we kind of got a reality check with these last two, both in the 18s. This one barely 18. I'm not sure really what was wrong with that tank. I gave it plenty of miles. We did go 524 miles on that tank. I'm just not sure what was up with it there and why it went down. That's what ruined the 03's average, and we came in at 18.78. That's basically unchanged from before. 0.12, that is definitely within the margin of error. I don't think the additive caused the drop, but it didn't cause a gain either. Now, over on the 09, we started things off very similar to the 03. A big gain, 17.12. It's not common for me to do better than 17 miles a gallon on the 09. So that was a surprise. We got over 17, and then we did it yet again. So just like on the other side, MPG initially saw a pretty nice gain. And then we came down to 16.18, and I'm like, you got to be kidding me. It's literally doing the same thing as over here. But then it did make a little comeback here, 16.71. So this truck actually fared better on the fuel additive. It got 16.77 on average. That's a gain of nearly 0.2 miles a gallon. I would say that's still within the margin of error, but it's nice to see a decent gain. One of the other things I looked at was Regens. This was what the truck was doing with no fuel additives. It was regenning at these amounts. The average of those was 168 miles in between. My all-time best was 196 prior to this test. So if you come up here, there was a clear benefit from fuel additive. These four, I was just doing my regular daily driving, and we averaged 187 miles, which is almost 20 miles better than before on average. And then I went on a long haul and was just cruising on the highway. The truck was really not being turned off hardly at all. And finally, I started doing some things I never did before, and that was to get over 200 miles out of a regen. Our best ended up being 222. It's really impressive. And our overall average for all these was 201.5. So I do think the additives actually helped expand my regen intervals. And when you get over 200, that's great, because there may be some tanks where you only do 2 regens during the tank instead of 3. So that's encouraging. I actually got the fuel additive primarily for the 09 since it has the DPF. I was hoping that it would have a positive effect, and I think it did. Let's see. I don't have anything else here. Let me go check some data, and so I can share on the 03 what other fuel additives have done since I've had 33-inch tires, because I've kept track of those too. All right, I found my numbers. We don't have terribly large sample size here because these tires have not been on the truck for that long, but since I've had these tires, this is what the 03 has done. With no additives in, it got 19.11. That was better than my Hotshots average. Diesel Clean got 18.92, was also better. How's MPK, 18.51, that was worse. We did have an issue, though, with a little bit of a fuel leak. My fuel filter canister O-ring was seeping some diesel, And so when I took that one tank out where that was happening, we actually averaged 19.09. Stanidine brown at 18.95. That's just an injector cleaner. I've actually got a bottle of that stuff right here. Brown bottle. One tank cleanup injector cleaner. Got 18.95. And Stanidine red at 18.98. They're all relatively close to one another here. We're not seeing any dramatic increases or decreases on any of them. I did the same thing on the 09. Once again, kind of limited data, but worth showing. With no additive, we averaged 16.07. That was worse than what hotshots did by quite a bit. It almost 16.8. They're all worse than what hotshots did. Hotshots is my best with the 09. Diesel clean 16.66. Stanidine red, well, only got one tank, but 16.04, and Stanidine brown 16.06. What's really interesting is Stanidine red and brown very close to one another on both trucks for fuel economy results, almost insignificantly different. So that's very interesting. All right, I hope you all enjoyed this one. I will see you in the next video.